Padres Hot Tub is a community-supported show. You can support this show. You're supporting it by watching or listening. We thank you for being there. But there's another way to do it. And it's not just a chance to support us three yokels. It's a chance to join a community that is vibrant, self-selected, and constantly growing. The Patreon community at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub, where not only do you get bonus shows, let's count it up from last week. Last week on the free feed, you got one full show of Padres Hot Tub, the Withdrawals podcast. You got a couple of previews, and that's what you got. On the Patron feed, they got our show ad-free 12 hours before you did, plus banter, plus post-game shows for 5 games. How about it? That was a gigantic harvest of bonus content, and all of those shows. Oh, I left out group therapy. Group therapy as well on the off day. 7 extra shows last week that Chris Raphie and I, or Chris Raphie or I, were a part of, courtesy of our Patreon community guys.
Yes.
I mean, the value is just dripping out of your ears right now. You can feel it. It's not just that you're getting all of this extra content. It really is the community that is being built and that everyone has become a part of. Because right now, as we record this, Padres are on a 6-game win streak. And as you can probably guess, the Discord is a very fun place to be when the Padres are playing well. And so there's a little bit of FOMO if you're not with us. And so we hope you join us. Chris?
Yes, indeed. The winning is indeed getting us exhausted because of all these post-game shows and all this exuberance. It doesn't really end. I want to also just echo what Craig said. If you are listening to this on a free feed, we very much value that. I'd also ask if you can't afford to jump in to our Patreon right now and get involved with our Discord community and all the extra shows and all that. If you can't do that, kindly leave us a review and rate our show wherever you are getting your podcast, because that also does go a long way. And if you'd like to support us and just can't do it financially, which we get, that's a great way to do so.
Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. Welcome to the Padres Hot Tub, everybody. Craig Elsten, Chris Reed, Raphie Cantor. How about them Padres?
They good, man. They good. They
I need a cigarette.
Yeah, seriously. Seriously. The Padres, who were not playing well the last time we recorded our full show, have subsequently won 6 in a row and reached a new high water mark of 12 games over 500. And furthermore, just beat the Yankees in the rain with a 4-run 8th inning off of their victory formula relievers, 4-3. A most improbable win. Win of the year? Recency bias allowed. Guys, win of the year?
I think so. I think it absolutely is. I think you can say that they performed better in some games, and certainly if you were watching the first 7 1/3 innings of this game, you would certainly agree with that sentiment. But I think not only the trials and tribulations of the rain delay, it's the Tatis getting thrown out and Schilt and his glasses getting thrown out. And I guess his glasses remained on the field as far as we know, but we'll get to that in a little bit.
Be there right
but
now.
I can throw it pretty hard.
Really, it's Manny and Xander coming through with the necessary clutch hits. Our guys who, let's credit where credit is due. We have been hard on them. I believe that we were hard on them just a week ago on this podcast, and they've really shown up. And Xander specifically has 8 RBI in the last 6 games, literally since we recorded this the podcast, kind of bagging on him. So, credit where credit's due. They picked up the slack. Great win, boys.
I couldn't say it better. And yeah, I think this is probably, when you consider the opponent, the context, the rain, the Mike Shildt explosion, just a lot of fun, a lot of drama. And it kind of came out of nowhere. As a fan, we earned this one too. This game should have been over hours and hours ago. But with the delay and all that going on, this one felt really earned by everyone, not the least the actual guys on the San Diego Padres.
Well, what we've been doing for our patrons after almost every single win this year and most games overall this year is we've done a post-game show live for our patrons. And so what we're going to do to start today's show, because this was such a huge win, and even in the free feed, it's coming into your feed on Tuesday morning, is we're going to kind of do a mini post-game show just without the call-ins and go through our formula to start that. But before we do, Chris, why don't you welcome in a lot of the new patrons who have joined us in the Patreon community since last we recorded.
Dude, thank you so much for giving me the privilege of doing so. I have a long list of names here, and if I read your name in an Australian bluey type accent, that means you're probably overpaying and you're giving way too much money to Apple. So you might want to consider unsubscribing and resubscribing via your browser. You're getting charged a surcharge by Apple. Again, if you hear your name and it sounds like I'm in Australia. So thank you very much, Travis, Albury, Hayden, Jarul, Duke Fett, True Shiza, Elliot, Steven, Philip, Josh, Chris, Jarrett, Andre, John, Tom, Ryan, Johnny, Ian, SD Texan, Drew, Brandon, and Kaigan. Thank you very much for joining our community here at patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub.
I mean, effective, but also some of those I was like, is he doing an Australian accent or is he just holding in a fart? I can't really tell.
With the past week, my friend, it's hard to tell.
I think there were like 3 different accents in there. Were there subcategories?
Well, yes, there was Queensland, there was Sydney, there was
your New South Wales accent.
Yeah,
there was Forrest Gump.
There was your Perth, Western Australia accent.
Yeah, I started to hear something about crawfish in there, right in the middle. Okay, all right, outstanding. Who's the man for the 4-3 win for the San Diego Padres?
Craig. There's something else on our menu that I might be wearing that we need to discuss.
Thank you. Okay, sorry. I know. We're not trying to bury the lead, but we do want to mention Jackson. The Padres improved to 15-9. 15-9 without Jackson Merrill, and Jackson Merrill's back tomorrow. And you can be wearing the brand new Padres Hot Tub Merrill Madness t-shirt in time for the next homestand, when the Vetter Cup is waged, as well as the Evil Angels coming to town. You can be wearing it. Go to padreshottub.com/merch. padreshottub.com/merch. By the way, big patrons get a courtesy piece of merch every year. So they got a free link to get that t-shirt, and many of them are rocking that t-shirt already. So check it out. padreshottub.com/merch. Who's the man from the Padres 4-3 win over the New York Yankees? You could say Manny Machado for the gigantic 2-run double that unlocked the Padres offense. They had been shut out by the Yankees in the pouring rain at Yankee Stadium deep into the 8th inning. You could say Xander Bogaerts, who followed him with a 2-run hit that put the Padres ahead 4-3, brought home Arraez and Machado, and delivered the game-winning run. And both of those would be fine choices, but incorrect. Because the man is the manager. Mike Shildt lost his shit strategically, dramatically, off Broadway, but he's got a chance to get onto Broadway after his performance today, not only throwing, I don't know, a wristband or something to the backstop after Fernando Tatis Jr. got ejected for what was absolutely a strike thrown against him with the bases loaded. But then, as he walks up to the home plate manager saying, "You want to go? You want to fucking go?" He takes off his glasses like Jordan the Stallion on Instagram, having just completed a delicious brownie croissant cookie thing that he created on his Instagram account, and flung him. Sent him flying, hopefully to be caught in the webbing, behind the plate. That's in my vision of this as you would shoot this for a future version of it. And he completely Earl Weavers out and gets into the dude's face and goes crazy. And I can't wait for all of the lip reading breakdown of the whole thing. And boys, it was 3-0. And then what happened? Arraez, walk, Machado, double, the Bogarts, single. It all followed the Schilt tantrum. This guy's got his team's back. He's locked in. He's wired in. He is there. And he took the lightning rod and he brought the lightning to this team. The man is the manager today. It's Mike.
He was very much like Kurt Russell in Tombstone, fording the river, just taking out Cowboys left and right when he came out for the umpire. I don't think Mike Shildt was so much upset about the umpire's calls as he was about the umpire giving Nando a lecture about Nando's reaction to the call. He was jawing him while Nando's getting back into the box. It's an umpire doing what they love to do, put themselves into the friggin' game. And we don't like to give awards to managers. We prefer to give awards to guys who are on the field, so to speak, doing it. But Mike Shildt just helped himself out there tonight and became one of the people on the field. And you're absolutely right. It was the fulcrum of the game. It was the moment, and he lived up to it, the manager.
So you're both wrong, because we actually have a whole section of our post-game show that is devoted to the manager.
Nope,
so we're going to get there in a second. But the man...
His mistake was not punching the guy.
the man was clearly Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts, who went 2 for 3 with a walk in today's game, 2 RBI, the 2 critical tying and go-ahead runs that would propel the Padres to victory. I also just wanted to note, because it was a stat that Don threw out on the podcast, Xander is currently by far and away the highest active hit leader of any player with hits against the Yankees, of any player who's active in Major League Baseball. I got there eventually. Xander, with his 2 hits tonight, now goes to 154 career hits against the Yankees. The next highest active player is Rafael Devers, the 112. So he is further creating more real estate. I suspect that if Devers continues to play for the Red Sox for the length of his contract, he will eventually pass Xander Bogaerts, given the limited exposure. But something that's very cool, Xander, for now, and it's also just cool when guys come back and they play in former rival stadiums and they still crush. So it was really cool to see Xander get that moment against Luke Weaver, who, by the way, hadn't given up an earned run prior to today. And Manny Machado's RBIs were not charged to Luke Weaver. So actually it was Xander Bogaerts who handed his the first earned runs of the season to Luke Weaver. Very cool. Xander Bogaerts is my man for the day.
I'll piggyback a little bit on this, just because you said Xander Bogaerts has been fantastic lately, Raphie, with that 8 RBIs in 6 game stats. He has never done that as a Padre. He did that a bunch in Boston, just going over his stat head. Like, it happened pretty frequently. I can see at least 7 to 8 different stretches where he had a streak like this in him. This is his very first one as a San Diego Padre.
I'll give a sub man, which is Nick Pivetta. I mean, I looked this up yesterday. I was out walking the dog and I'm like, Nick Pivetta's got a history against the Yankees. He has to. He spent so many years with the Red Sox. He's got to have a deep track record against most of these Yankees hitters, even though there's a lot of turnover to this year's team, but also to pitching at Yankee Stadium. And so I looked it up, and it was uniformly terrible. Pivetta had a horrible record, something like 1-4 against the Yankees overall, with an ERA well over 6. But at Yankee Stadium, it was 24 innings, 22 earned runs, and ERA of almost 9, WHIP of 1.6, homers galore, just nightmare sauce, like Jake Peavy at Coors Field pre-Humidor is what Nick Pivetta is at Yankee Stadium. And previously, I would have run to a betting market or something with that and said, okay, bet against this guy, especially against Rodon and everything else in this game. But when I texted that info to you guys last night, I said, the question is tomorrow, is it old Pivetta or is it new Pivetta? How much have the Padres tweaks to Nick Pivetta? Here's the real test. Here's the place he's pitched the worst against the team he's pitched about the worst. How much of these tweaks held, or is it old Pivetta? And I got to say, take on top of that the most challenging conditions possible. Pouring rain. He gives up a 2-run homer to Grisham on a hung curve before the rain is falling. Rodon is dotting. He has to sit. He comes back out. According to, you said Chris Johnboy said he was allegedly tipping again in this game, and he gets through 5, and they even try to get an out of him in the 6th. But he goes 5 innings, 2 runs. Given the context of that, that's an A+ outing for Nick Pivetta.
100%. I guess I am curious just how much the rain had to do, because there were a couple of warning track shots that Pivetta gave up. But I mean, to me, I think I'm fully sold on the tweaks that Nick Pivetta has made with Ruben Niebla. I really do think he is a different pitcher than the one that he was certainly in his earlier parts of his career, and even from the one we saw last year with the Red Sox. Just the small stuff like switching to pitching, I believe, off of the first base side of the mounds now. Is that correct? Or did he switch to the third base side?
He just moved over a little bit. He didn't go all the way, but he used to be extreme third base, and they moved him more toward first base.
Yeah. And just the way that's changed his mechanics. It's just the small little things like that. I do want to note for folks that John Boy posted a video on his X account claiming that he had read that Nick Pivetta, he was able to pick up what Nick Pivetta's pitches were, that Pivetta was tipping. And if you recall, when Pivetta pitched last week against the Giants, he was also tipping, and he got into beef with, what was it, Patrick Bailey? Was that the catcher?
Yes.
Yeah. So just something to keep an eye on as the season progresses. If Nick Pivetta has a tell, that will be something that teams take advantage of, but I'm certain that it's something that the Padres are also working on.
I'm 100% buying in on Nick Pivetta being exactly like Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha before him. The Padres have shown their pro pitching development, especially with veterans, is extremely matured. And, it's not something we saw previous to Ruben Niebla. He deserves all the credit in the world. Build the man the statue. Give him the extension, the 10-year extension.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think that's a really important point. How much the pro side of pitching development has changed positively for the San Diego Padres since Ruben Niebla came on board, and how important in an offseason that seemed very quiet until the Nick Pivetta signing, it was to re-sign Ruben Niebla. I mean, if he's in New York, Devin Williams is probably 13 for 13 on saves. And Luke Weaver is sitting as a setup man. But Ruben Niebla is here, and now Robert Suarez is 14 for 14 on saves. And the Padres bullpen is number 1 in the league. It was really fun, by the way. We'll continue through the 5Ms. It was really fun for me personally watching this game on Yes Network. And I would normally never deviate from watching Don and Mud. But first off, Yes Network, for some reason on the service I use, comes in a few seconds ahead. of the other one. Also, I think they definitely have higher price cameras because the picture quality was much better for me on Yes. But I also really like hearing a kind of legendary voice like Michael Kay, who is normally not watching the Padres, to
Sure.
have that kind of informed outsider take on what he's seeing. And, wow, this is a good team. And, what they really emphasized was the Padres run prevention, and I'm not sure if they gave up their 100th run as a team today, but they had not allowed 100 runs coming into today as a team. It's pretty remarkable what's going on. And Pivetta was another example of that today, keeping this team in it because, even down 3-0, you're within slam range. Padres get 4 in the 8th. They pull a win absolutely out of the fire. Another win, that, boy, and I think we're going to have to get into letters to AJ as a result of this. But, another win that they would not have had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up with you and say that the Padres have not yet given up their 100th run. They had 95 going into today. They gave up 3, so they are sitting at 98 runs on the season. They are the only team who has given up less than 112 runs thus far on the year.
Right?
Amazing.
We're not making a big enough deal about the number of shutouts that the Padres have had. That we're on 100%. A ridiculous shutout pace. Like a ridiculous shutout pace right now. And that's with this staff. No Waldron, tossing out Hart, tossing out Vasquez, throwing the collective, over the course of the weekend. And this team is setting all-time records for shutouts, before the quarter pole of the Major League season. So it's a remarkable start for run prevention for this team. The mistake might have been to play this game.
Yes, 100%.
Baseball shouldn't be played in this weather. It's dangerous. It 100% changes the results. When it's pouring, to score is pretty hard unless the pitcher can't control the baseball.
Specifically, the mistake was going out for the bottom of the 4th inning when it was clearly drenched, and it was clear that the umpire. I don't never know how this works. If the groundskeepers in the home stadium have a say, or if it's all up to the umpire.
If the game starts, like they get to say whether there's going to be a game going on.
But from there, it's the umpire discretion.
From there, it's correct? The umpire. Yep, and it's a minimum. Okay. It's like there's like a 45-minute window or something like that.
Okay, that doesn't really fit my narrative. But what I was going to say was that it felt like that the Yankees were just trying to get through 4.5 innings so that it would be an official game.
I thought so too. Yes,
that they were just trying to jam it down and steal a win. And thank God. Look, it was kind of BS because, again, bottom of the 4th, they ended up calling the game in the middle of that inning, which is kind of defeats the whole purpose of going out for that half of an inning. But, look what happens when you don't finish a full game. You don't go the distance. Things change.
Yeah, 9 innings is a long time for crazy shit to happen. And as far as a bad decision on the Yankees' part, I agree, because Robert Suarez has experience pitching in the biggest moments in the rain. If you'll recall, it was very rainy in Southern California throughout the 2022 playoffs, and Robert Suarez had to deal in the rain before and had no problems whatsoever. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll never forget it. Yeah, no, that's a great call. That's an absolutely great call. What could have been the mistake in a Padres loss, especially if it was a 1-run loss, was the fact that Luis Camposano got thrown out at home in the top of the 7th inning.
Tagged out.
Tagged out. Throw. Okay. Well, someone threw to tag him out, right? Oh, no. You're right. No one did. Thank you. Great point. Actually, excellent point. He was tagged out at home because he went on a ball that got behind the catcher. The ball spiked in the dirt. It got behind Austin Wells. Campusano broke from home. And then for some reason, the baseball decided that it was hit by Scotty Scheffler and it went backwards.
No, it hit the umpire. I went back and looked. It hit
it hit the umpire.
And turned back. Yeah, the umpire gifted that to the Yankees.
Even worse,
Mm-hmm.
but more understandably physically. Because I remember we were doing banter at the time and you know, there was a chance to be upset at Luis Campusano. I'm like, I don't think so.
I was.
Yeah, but I'm looking at it like he has to go in that spot. The ball's behind the catcher. The fact that it kicks back to the plate is a 1 in a million situation. It goes to the backstop. He scores standing up. No problem. And that's a point on the board on a night where it's pouring rain. Like that's, I take that. Even though Tatis was at the plate. Or, right? I forget. Let me see here. No, Sheets. Sheets was at the plate.
Yeah, he's about to be up. Like,
but Sheets was at the plate as a potential tying run. So, you know, Sheets could hit a homer, but Campusano got thrown out at home. I'm saying not a mistake. That's what I'm holding up my hand saying, not a mistake. It's unlucky that he got thrown out.
I think you're right. I was mad in the moment. I was pissed off. I was saying mean things about Luis. And then you go and look at it. Ball hits the umpire. It got past the catcher. Sheets is waving at him. What is the guy supposed to do? He wants to be like Fernando Tatis Jr., just like I do. I get it.
This isn't. We do 5 M's. The meaning is you just took a game. That was a circle game. That's a game you circled, or you highlight with a yellow highlighter, or you put a star next to it. Whatever it is, that's a game. That's a game we're going to talk about later in the year. That's a game we're going to talk about at the midseason recap. It's a game we're going to talk about at the end of the year. Going to Yankee Stadium, pouring rain. Carlos Rodon was redonkulous in this game. He was dotting. All of his pitches were working. There's no reason he couldn't throw a shutout. And honestly, like, so effective. Very fortunate for the Padres that Devin Williams is in an all-time funk, or he's getting Eddie Whitson out of New York, or whatever's going on with him. But this was a game that absolutely the Padres shoulda, coulda, woulda lost, and they won, and they're 4-0 on this road trip, and they're 12 games over 500. And Merrill comes back tomorrow. He was in the dugout, though. He was there to be part of the energy. The energy of this club is elite. The talent level of this club is elite. I'm close to being all the way over the bridge for the Padres, and it's way too early to be there. But, like, I believe in this team, and what they're doing is, it's not just like, oh, whoa. This is a special team with some special players that I hope get to play together for a long time and accomplish a lot together.
The bullpen may not have a sub-2 ERA the whole season, but they are excellent. They were completely underestimated by baseball coming into the season. We saw Fangraphs rank them 17 or whatever in their bullpen rankings, and we all knew that was wrong. And now Fangraphs does too. And with the starting rotation they have, with Michael King, a conceivably returning to somewhat Dylan Cease-like Dylan Cease, and Nick Pivetta pitching like an ace on half of Major League Baseball's teams, like, that's a great baseline to have moving forward, and to be 12 games up here on Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah. Look, I know this is part of my narrative, so sorry, not sorry, but I just want to shout out Yuki Matsui, who came into today's game and pitched what really was a clean inning. He was not charged an earned run. Technically, a run did score, but I believe that was Paul Goldschmidt going from first to third on a throwing error from Elias Diaz.
A stolen base, yeah.
Yeah, on a stolen base, and then giving up a sacrifice fly. But Yuki Matsui, I'm just pulling up his game log right now. I believe pitched in each of the... Okay, he did not pitch yesterday, so I apologize. But he pitched on Friday and on Saturday, turned in clean innings, turns in a clean inning today, has been a really big part of this road trip. And he's been walking some guys. We know over the course of 162, he's going to get tagged for that eventually. But just a critical part of getting this bullpen, which has, yes, been coming in after some really good starts, but also has been coming in off of some pretty short starts from the rotation and having to, bridge the gap to get to our victory formation. So shout out to Yuki.
Piggyback on the Yuki love. He is actually ranked 4th amongst the team's relievers in when the Padres are putting him in as far as the leverage index goes. So, not only is the usage going up, but the trust is going up. It's beginning to look like a fantastic call on your part preseason there, Raphie. I also want to, before we leave this game, I want to point out that Xander Bogaerts had a single, a 1B, on a ball that had a .000 expecting batting average.
Yes. Yeah, that's a single. If you
single.
ever remember saying
nobody
anything,
touched it. It counts.
What are we doing? Is what that was. That was an air quote single.
That was
pop-up.
Carlos Rodon is quite good. And then this is what we need.
No, that was a pop-up that Rodon lost. And Goldschmidt was late to come in, and then the third baseman Peraza came running in, and then he ran into Rodon as the ball fell 5 feet. As Wells just stood and watched the whole thing, and then Rodon looks at him and goes, "I didn't see it the whole time." It was
well struck, Xander. Beautiful major
well
league
struck. That's a base hit in the big leagues. No, I'd like to shout out a couple other hidden heroes. So it's 5 M's, but an HH as well. Hidden heroes. Yuki Matsui. Here's another one. Okay. Guess who got his first big league win today with a perfect inning with a strikeout? Ryan Bergert.
Ryan B.
Won a big league ball game today. Put him down in baseball register. Won a big league ball game today. Came into a game down 3-0 and painted a perfect inning. That's 2 times out for Bergert. He's looked great. Let's go. Let's go, Bergert. Here's 2 more. How about a little Yankee redemption tour, baby? At the bottom of the Padres lineup. The 8th inning, guess how it started? Started with locked-in Tyler Wade, baby.
Oh,
locked-in Tyler Wade.
But then, yes, the 2 Yankees.
I'm getting there.
Sorry.
Locked in Tyler Wade, who had to start at second, lefty against Rodon, gets his first chance to viably impact the game because he's not going to get a hit off Carlos Rodon. Come on, let's be real. That was just a sack. It's like a sacrificial lamb. It's like just putting a fried chicken into Jobu's bucket to put Tyler Wade in there against Rodon. But he gets his chance against Williams, and he draws a walk. Wade gets on, and that brings up Brandon Lockridge, drafted by the Yankees, developed by the Yankees, gets to AAA, and gets traded to the Padres for Enyel De Los Santos. One of the greatest trades for A.J. Preller's history in terms of actual value out, value in, because Enyel De Los Santos was like a sucking void of negative value. Here, we'll give you the worst reliever in the world. Please enjoy all the homers and doubles allowed. Oh, you'd like to give us a completely useful playoff rostered outfielder who has come now to get his first opening day, takes a tough hamstring injury, comes back. Padres haven't lost since he comes back. You want to give it to Hayward? You want to give it to Arraez? You got to give it to Lockridge too, right? Padres haven't lost since he comes back. And he singles behind the Wade walk earlier, makes a diving catch, and steals a base at Yankee Stadium in this game. Single, stolen base, run scored, diving catch. Brandon Lockridge threw out a runner over the weekend at home plate, 97-mile-an-hour throw, meat at the dish. Like, Brandon Lockridge playing ball for the San Diego Padres.
I mean, Go ahead, Chris. I'm
No,
sorry.
you. I just like he's serving the Jose Azocar role on the team and doing it a lot better.
A lot better. And that's the thing that when we always talked about Jose Azocar and at times Tyler Wade, certainly not in the 2025 manner that Tyler has been playing, but that we have the designated fast guy, your designated pinch runner on the team. And I think for Padres fans, historically, we've kind of settled and accepted that guys could just be fast and not provide any value while being in that role. And Brandon Lockridge was someone who, out of spring training, was smacking the crap out of the ball. His hard hit percentages were way up. His expected numbers were way up. And, the question was it going to translate into a major league season when he wasn't necessarily facing fringe roster guys? And I've really liked what I've seen from Brandon Lockridge. I am perfectly comfortable with him playing the weak side of that left field platoon, and he is by far and away our best defensive option to come in off of the bench in the outfield, and he's your designated fast guy. He has like a 99 sprint speed percentile rating. I think for stealing bases on the show, his rating is even higher than that, so if that's even possible. So just phenomenal stuff from Brandon Lockridge, and there's nothing better than watching a guy come back and face a team that he was, traded from, which we saw and got a little bit of our own medicine from today as well. But that's one of my favorite joys in baseball, is seeing some revenge tour stuff.
Just a beautiful win today for the San Diego Padres. As we transition back to some stuff that happened over the course of the week, I want to say shout out Terrible Padres Memes, who's been working with us and putting out some of our content via Instagram. Follow him. Follow us on Instagram, Padres Hot Tub. Follow him, Padres, Terrible Padres Memes, Terrible SDFC Memes as well, to check out what he's doing for the soccer club. But he highlighted something we said on a post-game show about Luis Arraez. And Luis got a walk after the Schilt ejection. For the guy who usually gets hits on balls 2.5 baseballs outside the strike zone, Arraez got a walk right in the middle of that big rally that led to the Machado double and the Bogart single. But Luis Arraez is such an important part of this team. He is such an important part of this team. I am all in on Luis Arraez, and I understand his faults. I understand his flaws, but I understand that he is a sabermetrically impossible player, because he is the vibes merchant. I mean, we thought it was all Profar. Profar had that nasty streak to him, but Luis Arraez is this fountain of ebullience, of joy. He smiles, he laughs, he pumps up his teammates, he pumps his fist when he's scooping a throw from Bogarts, when Bogarts caught the 110-mile-an-hour line drive off of O'Neal Cruz's bat. Like, he's just got this way to keep this team in motion, to keep it in rhythm. He's an instigator. He creates. It goes beyond what he does specifically at first base or specifically on the bases or his slugging percentage. Luis Arraez is a special player that I hope is a Padre for a very long time.
It's the straw that stirs the drink, as you said in one of our great Terrible Padres Memes Instagram posts. And I just think, I think this might be a good time to shout out Letters to AJ, who dropped an awesome article today, that is titled Get Wrecked. Highly go recommend everyone read it. Letters to AJ on Substack. But the thrust of the article was essentially how, we constantly talk about that baseball in the sabermetric era kind of maybe overlooks or undervalues just putting the ball in play, and how much more valuable that is to a strikeout, which contributes nothing, has no luck involved, which, just putting a baseball in play about 30% of the time, it's going to be a hit. We saw it tonight with Xander Bogaerts, an infield pop-up that traveled about 20 feet and somehow dropped in for a hit. That happens every, 1 in 1,000 times. That thing will drop in for a hit, and one of those times was tonight. And so when there are 2 outs with runners in scoring position, that is an awfully good time to put the ball in play. because, like I mentioned, about 30% of the time, ball that's put in play goes for a hit, or someone reaches on an error with 2 outs. Guys are running on contact, and you're really likely to score a run in that situation. And what the Padres have done quite fantastically, and Letters to AJ gets much more in depth in this. Again, I highly recommend you go read it, but just to kind of elucidate the point, is that they are among the best in Major League Baseball at avoiding being struck out with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. And they are among the best in baseball in terms of how frequently they strike out opposing hitters with 2 outs and runners in scoring position. They are 4th best in the league at striking out opposing hitters in that split. And they are 3rd best in the league at avoiding being struck out when they are at the plate. And you just kind of add that up over the course of a season, and you can see how you can just start stacking wins on top of that. So everyone go check out that article. It's fantastic. Luis Arraez, big part of that.
Let me quote Chris. I'm sorry. Let me just to underline that by quoting specifically the paragraph that I think nails this from Dylan's piece. And here it is. When you average it out, this is direct quoting. When you average it out, the expected win probability added by simply avoiding getting wrecked, rally-ending strikeout, once in a tied game is around 7% or close to 11 games over a 162-game season. The swing could be as high as 14% or 23 games across a season. There's more to this, obviously, but you get the idea. The swings and win probability are a lot more than first meets the eye. And when I saw 11 games, guys, I was like, light bulb for a team that went from 82 to 93 wins. The year that they went from being a team that with 2 outs would always swing for a home run, walk, or strikeout to a team that tried to put the ball in play all the time.
It's been like a foundational aspect to their game since Victor Rodriguez came, and it's more of a brand of baseball that San Diego fans can identify with. We can grab right onto it. It may not be what's fashionable in the game, but much like Luis Arraez, we don't care about that as long as the winning comes. And in that fantastic video that Terrible Padres Memes just co-produced with us, where you describe him as the tahini on the rim of the margarita, which is such a wonderful metaphor. It's like why metaphors were invented. There was a significant discussion in the comments about Luis Arraez value. Nobody saying that we should not extend him. Unanimously, everybody wanted to see him be a Padre for a long time. And that got me curious because I do agree. I love the guy. He looks great in the City Connects. He is a unique ball player who is fun to watch. But I kind of started to think, like, what is his value to this team? Is it, as some suggest in those comments, on par with Manny Machado or Fernando Tatis Jr.? You know, there are people in there saying that he should get 5-year deals worth $180 million. And there's other folks saying, oh, we need to extend this guy. I really hope he gives us a great discount. And some folks saying he should get the Cronenworth deal. So I just looked at a bunch of weird little stats in the team's record when people do it, trying to figure out what, like, is Luis Arraez the crankshaft of the engine? Is he responsible for keeping the linear motion going? He is the leadoff guy. That's an important role. And like, would you guys agree with me that the leadoff role, like, its primary function is to get on base? Like,
well, if he was leading off, but of course he hit second behind Fernando.
Oh my goodness. Of course he does. I meant at the top of the order.
Yeah. No, I love that he's not leading off.
I do too.
I love that he's not leading off.
I just had a complete brain fart, misspoke while looking at my statistics. But as a guy, number 2 at the top of the order, his job is to get bat on ball and get on base.
Yes.
When he gets on base, 1 out of 3 times, on base percentage, 3.33 or above, the Padres this year are 7-5. Now, to give some context to that, Like, that seems kind of low, right? That was kind of where I was at. I was like, that seems like a pretty low split for anything the 2025 Padres do. Fernando Tatis Jr., when he does it, the team's 13-8. When Xander Bogaerts does it, 13-5. Guys with smaller sample size, Merrill and Crone, 5-1, 7-1 respectively. So when these guys are getting on base, the team's winning. When Luis Arraez is doing that, it's not quite so happening. Manny has the best one out of everyone. And this goes to my fundamental point, why we can't really value Luis like Manny. And this is a long way of saying his valuation is different. But Manny, we are 15-1 when Manny Machado gets on base 1 out of 3 times. Like, that's the crankshaft. That is the core of the engine. And the story kind of plays out for any statistic you want. RBIs, 2 or more, 1-1 when Luis Arraez does it. When anybody else that I track does it, they're undefeated. The funnest split of all was home runs. When Luis Arraez hits a home run this year, the team is 2-1. And when Manny Machado does it, they're 1-2. They each have the same amount of home runs, incredibly.
Okay.
And Manny's
and guess
circumstantial.
And Trent Grisham has that +3.
No, more than that. He has
3.
9 now.
He has 9. That's what I'm saying. He has Luis plus Manny plus 3
Manny
more.
Plus 3. Yeah. So short sample, whatever you want to say. My point would get to that Luis Arraez value is going to have to be something that the club and him can kind of agree on. And it's not going to be like we saw in the Instagram comments, it's not going to be a mega contract. The Padres aren't going to pay that. But the intangibles that this guy brings to our club and the energy, like you say, the zest, Craig, make him worth locking up. And I don't know what that number is going to be. They can't give out Xander, Fernando, Manny contracts to the guy, but I hope they find a way to keep him.
Okay, let me zop a little bit on our menu, because I have to, when we're talking about contracts, I have to talk about, as this show comes out on Tuesday for most everybody, today's game. Today's game features Michael King pitching for the San Diego Padres at Yankee Stadium for the first time. And this is going to be the most special, most important day in Michael King's professional life this Tuesday night. There's no question about it. This is a guy who came up through the Yankee system, was a dominant reliever, as we should know now that we have learned what kind of person Michael King is. He was beloved by everybody in their system. He was beloved by Yankees fans. They have seen him across the country develop into an ace starter after they traded for Soto, who got them to a World Series. So, there's a trade-off there. But as I told you, I was watching Yes today as opposed to the Padres broadcast for a rare difference. And during rain delay, I watched Yes as well. And they had a long interview with Michael King. Guess what everybody in New York is talking about?
Signing Michael King.
That Michael King is going to be a Yankee next year.
Mm-hmm.
And they even asked him directly, like, hey, I know you're all in with your team and, qualifier, but you're going to be a free agent. So what would you think if the Yankees called? And he's like, well, of course I'd answer, and then he had a good political, I hope all 30 teams would call, but it would be very Yankees. If you think about it, the team that has signed Garrett Cole, the team that has signed Carlos Rodon, and the team that has signed Max Fried.
Yeah.
To sign back Michael King and essentially pay over the Soto trade. Like, yeah, we traded some other stuff, but honestly, let's be clear, from a Yankee standpoint, we traded Michael King. And we got Soto for a year and we lost him, but then we got King back for 6 years. So who cares? It all worked out in the end. for New York. This is going to happen. Like, Michael King's going to be a Yankee next year. Like, I'd say like 9-1. Michael King's going to be a Yankee next year. I think this is almost inevitable. And by the way, I don't know how it's going to work out for us tomorrow. I would almost bet on the Yankees tomorrow. It's going to go one of two ways. He's either going to throw 7 innings, 16 strikeouts, or he's going to walk 6, and overdo it.
Well, he's facing the guy that Brian Cashman wanted to send to the Padres in lieu of Michael King and Clark Schmidt.
Right. They even had a thing where they talked about it they asked Aaron Boone, they said, who was the more confident player, Clark Schmidt or Michael King? And he goes, oh, it's King. Like, Boone said that today.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
God.
So, like, I'm actually really excited for Michael. Like, I'm rooting for Michael. And he would be the next guy I would love to. This is why I wanted to piggyback off the Arraez talk. Like, I would love to sign Michael King. I would. We're going to talk about Kolek. I'll throw him into the mix maybe to talk about him. Michael Kolek comes up, throws 5 1/3 shutout innings. One of the stories on the broadcast was that in spring training, Kolek was pitching live bullpens with Michael King standing behind him like he was a high school pitching coach, standing behind him, giving him sequencing coaching tips, like trying to work on the starter's mentality with Stephen Kolek. What an incredible teammate, incredible guy, incredible human being, King of the Hill Foundation. Like, this guy is a mensch. I would love for the Padres to give him $200 million. I would. I'd love for them to give him the max free deal. But the way he throws against his body, could you guarantee he's not going to have Tommy John surgery the next 3 years? This almost seems like a Hollywood story for the Padres to get the best 2 years of Michael King's career and then for him to get the contract of his lifetime to injury rehab with the Yankees.
Well, I think that there's a huge narrative in there, Craig, a word that I've used a lot on this podcast. But I would not be surprised if the Padres got the best 2 years out of Michael King's career, because these are, in fact, his prime years. So that's why you make a trade like the Padres made. I mean, like, look, Michael King gets some of the most insane movement I've ever seen. His pitching ninja videos are amongst my favorites, right up there with Yu Darvish, and that's across all 30 Major League Baseball teams. But I don't know. I mean, like, it's one of those things with King, like, where you're speculating on injury, where I quiver saying the word out loud because I don't want to jinx it. But the notion that any pitcher would get injured in the next 5 years of their career as they enter their mid to old 30s, I think is probably a safe bet in today's game. Unfortunately, I think of Dylan Cease and Michael King. This podcast is pretty all in alignment that we would rather give Michael King the extension, but I just 100%. Don't think that. Yeah, but, like, do you think? I mean, every year we're, like, surprised by the Padres' financials that they have the juice to extend Jackson Merrill, and here we go. But, like, do you think that the Padres even have the means to have that conversation?
I don't, and that's why I think they're giving so many guys who are 6, 7 starters as much run and as much of a major league look as they can. That's why they've got Randy Vasquez and Stephen Kolek and Ryan Bergert and soon to be Jackson Wolf and Omar Cruz and whoever coming up, because they know starting pitching is incredibly expensive on the free agent market. They're not going to keep everybody forever. Like, they've done some crazy Ivans on us before in the past, folks, and the Padres have done some incredible things. Craig, I think you just kind of alluded to Mark DeRosa's and Al Leiter's segment on MLB Central.
I did, yes. Yeah, where they were like, good luck with that.
I really think that if you are a Padres fan, you might want to just give that a quick Google. You can do MLB Central, Michael King. Really fascinating segment on his delivery, on how he plants his feet. And I had heard the term Mark Grant talking about him throwing across his body a lot. And I kind of knew what that meant to a degree. But this segment really highlights how extreme Michael King's delivery is in this respect. It's one reason why his pitch shapes are so freakish and outside the norm, and why the injury concern is real.
Guys, I just want to put on a producer hat for a second and say we're almost an hour in and we have not discussed the Pittsburgh series at all. So
oh my God.
I think we did. I should also note for folks who are listening on our free feed, we did do post-game shows for each of those 3 games. So we did kind of talk about those games a lot. But obviously it's worth kind of mentioning. And Chris, you mentioned some guys down the rotation depth chart getting some run. Well, we definitely saw that in Pittsburgh, Craig.
We did. And the true story of the Pittsburgh series is that Fernando Tatis Jr. got hit. It looked like his arm exploded. It looked like it could be a compound fracture. It looked like it could be, in his own words, what he thought it might be as he walked off the field, a season-ending injury. That's what he said.
That was his reaction. That's why I was so freaked out, was his reaction.
He said as he walked off the field, he thought his season had ended when Mitch Keller's pitch nailed him clean in the forearm. Turned out it just broke a blood vessel underneath his skin, but it did not break the bone, and he has played every game since. And he has not been good in most of those games, save for one inning when he turned into Superman right when the Padres needed him against the Pirates, when he singled to left field, but recognized where the left fielder was playing and ran it into what we used to call a leg double. It was a common thing when I was growing up to talk about a leg double, but that was a leg double for Fernando Tatis Jr. Many players, that's a single. For him, it's a double. And then he steals third base, and then he comes home on a wild pitch that went about as far as the ball for Campusano. But he deliberately used that edge and actually beat it. Whereas most humans, like Campusano, can't beat a ball that doesn't really go past the catcher at all and stays within the general frame of the shot of home plate. Tatis beat that ball home.
If Campusano had made that, I would start wearing dreadlocks for Sunday softball. If Campusano would have done that, I would have been like, those guys figured it out. They got the power.
Yeah, I mean, just an incredible display, an incredible human display. One of those moments we'll remember for the rest of his career, like literally a career-defining moment for Fernando Tatis Jr. to steal a win, give him a full win above replacement, says Chris Reed for that game. And I would agree, full B WAR for Fernando for that game alone, that inning alone. But he's also got a really, really hurt arm that he's playing with right now. And I think he can't wait for a day off. And I wouldn't mind if the Padres could pull out Tuesday's win to give him Wednesday and Thursday off going into Friday.
Yeah. I just want to shout out Stephen Kolek because I was not able to join you guys on that post-game show yesterday. And obviously very impressive what we saw out of him to step up. This was, again, as folks know, a guy who was a Rule 5 pick from the Mariners, really struggled to locate his secondary pitches last season, left a lot of breaking balls in the zone that got hammered for home runs. Letters to AJ also shouted that out in his article. But I think the thing I was the most impressed by was the pitch mix and the sustained velocity from Stephen Kolek. Stephen Kolek threw 6 pitches according to StatCast. He threw a sweeper, quote unquote, twice. Sometimes the slider gets picked up as a sweeper. So let's say 5 pitches, but still, that's a pretty impressive arsenal for a guy who was primarily a middle reliever last season. And going late into the game, he was averaging 94 miles an hour on his fastballs and sinkers, maxing out at 96. Just really impressive stuff. I mean, the guy looked like he was a back end starter, stepping into that role really for the first time. The one thing I do want to note is that, unfortunately, he was getting hit around quite a bit. I know that the Pirates weren't getting the results that, they obviously were hoping for when they were at the plate, but the average exit velocity was 93.2, which is quite fast, and he gave up a couple of contacts that were 109 miles per hour. So for Kolek, obviously, he doesn't strike me as someone who's going to be a big strikeout heavy guy. He's going to look to limit that hard contact. But look, if he's a legitimate option for the Padres, I can't stress organizationally how huge that development is for the team.
And with you, Darvish, coming back within weeks, a few weeks, not 2, more than that, but less than 5 or 6, there's going to be one fewer spot. And if Stephen Kolek can go out in that sample size and attack the zone like he did, and get the same results, because if you look at his Savant page, will give you the tiny little sample size of his one start, but it's not the hardest hit guy in the world. He wasn't getting completely rocked. And that introduces a really hardy competition between him and a guy who doesn't attack the zone at all and leads Major League Baseball in walks currently and also doesn't strike people out.
Right. And that's where I would pick up the baton to say that Kolek, and remember, Matt Waldron is still a human who exists.
No, man. He's got an oblique injury. That's the netherworld.
He's got an oblique injury, so his career is over. No, he has an oblique injury. He's probably totally healthy right now. I don't know that, but no one's talking about Matt Waldron. Nobody talks about Waldron. It's weird, but he is a person who exists that will help this team at some point in this season that I would probably trust over this whole triumvirate of Kolek and Vasquez and Hart. Hart, by the way, who hadn't started, at least as of recording, in AAA since being sent down. Don't know what's going on there. But I'll take Kolek, who gave up hard contact but didn't give up one extra base hit in his outing. The way he throws with sinkers, with balls darting outside, ripped singles, fine. Big deal. Some of those ripped ground balls will be caught. 2, I'll take that over 11 base runners in 5 innings, which was the last Randy Vasquez outing. I'm Randy, I'll give up 6 hits. I'll also walk 5 and strike out 3. But now we'll talk about soft contact and we'll talk about this. No, Randy Vasquez is a tire fire. This is an elementary level sabermetric solve. Pods above replacement would scoff and throw this one away. You'll take Kolek, you'll toss Vasquez every time in that scenario. This guy gives up 1,000 base runners. So I hope Randy Vasquez will be a lot better, but I can't wait for him to be doing this in El Paso. It's coming soon, and I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, you get to see him do it at Coors Field before he goes to El Paso, Craig.
Yeah, but, maybe at least it's the Rockies. Maybe that day Michael Tolio will grant it to a double play, and we'll get out of it. Hey, shout out Xander. The last podcast I was really tough on Xander. He made a great double play tonight. In the rain, down on his knees, an absolute rocket shot that he turned into a double play. He's played a lot better defensively. He's played a lot better offensively. I just wanted to make sure I said that. Xander Bogaerts is kicking butt.
He feels like a different guy. What was it? Just hitting the home run. That's all he needed. And he's back to 2017, 2018 Xander Bogaerts.
He's got to slug a little bit more than he has, but he's just getting that mojo back, and you can really feel like, again, we commented on it the moment it happened, but the smile on his face when he was rounding the bases after hitting that home run like said everything. You could just see the relief that he felt, that like it had clearly been weighing on him, and I think we've seen him playing a little bit freer ever since that moment.
One last thing before we wrap it up. Elias Diaz might need to start getting to 3.5 or 4 out of 5 starts as opposed to 3 out of 5 starts. OPS over 700. The more he's playing, the more he's hitting. And he's a good receiver. And Martin Maldonado has been washed forever. And you know, he's not hitting under 200 yet, but give him enough time, and Martin Maldonado will be back under 200, sure as lightning. In Kansas in July, Maldonado will be under 200 in July. That's a guarantee from me to you, free beer to you, if I'm wrong, okay? But Diaz, I'm safe on that one. I'm safe. Diaz is playing well. And I look forward to seeing more of him as well. I think he's kind of a hidden part of this surge in the 6 straight wins.
He made one throwing error, and one other prospective throwing error had Bellinger been paying a little bit more attention tonight. But he's our only hope for the Padres catcher who gets near 20 home runs. Like, he's on pace for 15, 16, 17 right now. So, like, we take that plays considering the Padres' options and free agency. I feel like they got 1 out of 2. It still would be nice to have the 2 because he's not a young man. He's kind of fairly recent on the advanced baseball fan knowing his name after his All-Star Game MVP appearance. But I'd still like them to have somebody else that we are able to wager with an audience of thousands that will buy you a beer if they don't hit 200. I'd like us to have another person besides that.
Well, we haven't brought this up either. So here's one last thing for Pirates Review. During that series, the Padres called up Luis Campusano, who has started the last 3 games as DH right-handed. And guys, in 10 plate appearances, Luis Campusano has a 40% walk rate. He's got 4 walks against 1 K in 3 games. Now, he has not delivered a base hit or really, I think, anything that close to a hit yet. But we had this discussion on a post-game show, guys, about when, Merrill comes back, who goes down, probably Oscar Gonzalez. But when Cronenworth comes back, who goes down, it almost has to be Campusano. Tyler Wade would be exposed to waivers. The way he's played, it's impossible to think he wouldn't be claimed. Like, the Rockies would be criminal not to just claim him and start him the next 110 games. Be ridiculous, actually, if they didn't. They probably wouldn't. Maybe he'd go back to El Paso. But still, it's probably got to be Campy going back down. You made the point, Chris. I had said maybe Wade. You go, no, it's got to be Campy. I agree with you. But I haven't been mad at what I've seen. I think if you actually gave Luis time, he'd get hits. And I really like the way he has approached these 10 at-bats.
To be clear, I'd prefer it be Oscar Gonzalez. I think Brandon Lockridge is your Oscar Gonzalez now, especially now that Tyler Wade can show, like, he's played a competent outfield this year. You don't need anybody besides emergency with Jason Hayward also on the roster. So I'd prefer Oscar, but he's going down first and then Campy. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. My question for you guys was going to be, if/when do you think we see Luis Campusano putting on catcher's gear for the Padres this season?
It's not going to happen.
I think Schilt hates him.
Yeah.
I think Schilt
like his comments.
No.
I will just say, it is nice to know that the Padres have an actual emergency catcher.
Yeah,
like,
with
something
all the
that gets bandied about, but that is like, Phil Nevin was technically an emergency catcher at some point, right. Luis Campusano is an actual emergency catcher.
The way that Luis Campusano gets back behind the plate is a very Chris Reed associated curious shellfish incident. You know, like some mussel, some mollusk, some sort of dinner
I'm just
gone
cruising
wrong.
on the bayfront and I run into Martine and
oysters.
and Elias
It's just
Diaz. I'm like, boys,
exactly. It's
cocktails.
both of them are just torpedo shooting their guts out the same night. And Schilt looks around and is like, T Wade, and T Wade starts putting on this stuff, and Campy's like, Coach, I'm right here. I'm right. And then after T Wade has 3 pass balls, he goes, Campy, get in there. And then Campy hits like 2 home runs and is dynamic behind the plate. And Joe Musgrove taps Schilte and goes, don't you remember? I worked with him. He'll be fine. Give him another chance. And then Campy gets to start. I think that's literally it's the double oyster incident combined with 3 Tyler Wade pass balls. That's about the level that it's going to take to get Campy back behind the dish.
We are a narrative story-based podcast today for sure. I just want to read this Mike Schilt quote about the moves that brought up Campusano. He said, Connor Joe will get some at-bats at El Paso that he wasn't getting here. The group felt that Campusano was swinging the ball really well at AAA. We're facing some lefties coming up, so he'll get some opportunities at the designated hitter spot. Campusano will get an opportunity to DH against lefties. Sheets has done a really good job, so we make sure we're smart about how we incorporate Gavin as well. But yes, Campusano will get a chance to perform. Like, we have seen Mike Schilt be so effusive in his praise of so many guys on his teams. That is almost harsh in his tone about how he's describing Campusano. And he doesn't say the word catcher anywhere in that paragraph. So no, I think double oyster, emergency catcher failure, like Joe Musgrove gets a tear in his eye when talking about his work with the young man. It's got to be all those things.
Guys, I have one gift for you as we end. That was inspired by the Xander Bogaerts stat I gave earlier, which I just want to correct. Rafael Devers actually has 115 hits against the Yankees, not 112. I looked it up in the meantime. It did get me curious. Who are the active leaders in hits against the Padres currently in Major League Baseball? And I want to know your top 5.
Oh my God.
You guys can get...
we finished with trivia time again. This is a fun new thing, Raphie. You got to start leaning into this.
I know. I'm going to try and come up with some.
Okay.
My mind is so
active
done.
hitters. Active hitters.
Guys currently in Major League Baseball. Yes. I'm
top
not doing
5
all time.
hits versus Padres.
Top 5 hits versus Padres.
Let me just throw Paul Goldschmidt.
Paul Goldschmidt is on the list. He is number 2 with 161.
That's a great guess. Give another one.
Isn't it your turn? Isn't it supposed to be?
No, my brain is. I told you at the end of the day, my brain is completely dead. For these trivias, okay, it's got to be somebody long term.
Oh no, it's active players. I almost just said Andre Ethier, just out of.
Arenado was in the division a long time, and he's been around a minute.
Is that a guess?
Yes,
Are you saying Nolan
guess.
Arenado? Nolan Arenado is number 1 on the list. He has 160.
Wow.
He has 162 hits. Goldschmidt has 161. Okay. So you have 3, 4, and 5 remaining on the list, still on the board.
Okay. There's got it. Justin Turner.
Justin Turner is number 3 on the list.
Perfect. Yeah.
He has 153 hits. Now, so there's 4 and 5 are remaining. It's been an impressive display thus far.
It's got to still be guys like that played in the division for all those years. And like Chris Turner doesn't have enough at bats.
No.
But he's been around a long time. No.
You talking about Chris Taylor?
Chris Taylor. What did I say? What did I say?
You said Chris
Turner, not a different.
Chris Taylor is number 8 on the list. It is worth saying.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Bryce Harper?
It is not Bryce Harper.
No.
Bryce Harper's 22 on the
division.
list.
There's too much.
There's no.
You got to think division, and you also need to think guys who have been in the National League a lot. Because think about like Goldschmidt and Arenado obviously they were in the division, but also they're both on the Cardinals, but still getting
right.
Yeah,
absolutely.
What about Cody Bellinger? Dude, we played tonight. No,
Cody Bellinger is 18 on the list.
Yeah, he's not close.
Number 5 on the list is going to be like oh my God, come on. Like, why didn't I think of that immediately? Number 4 is the one where I'm like, I don't know. This is going to be kind of tough.
Shoot, I just had someone in my mind who's just a...
Tell me when you want
How about Jock?
Jock is a great guess. He is number 11 on the list.
Okay. I'd like one hint for mine next one.
Okay. I can give you the team that he's currently on.
Okay.
Is that too much? Okay.
This
is number 5 on the list.
Kind of stupid.
Number 5 on the list is number 5 on the list is a Dodger.
Is it Dodger right now? Freddie Freeman.
That's right. There you go. Freddie Freeman, 119.
Yeah.
Okay, number 4 on the list with 129 hits. Here's a big hint. The last time he suited up against the Padres was in 2023.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because I was just thinking, like, where would Charlie Blackmon have been on this list? But he's not
active. Yeah, he would be up there.
I thought about Brandon Crawford too, but
the last time he suited up against the Padres was 2023. The last time he played in the National League was 2018.
Raphie's got such a glint in his eye for this. This one's tough.
This is a good one. This is this is a fun one.
JD Martinez?
No, but you're on sort of the right track, but not. I don't know why I said that. I don't know. It's not JD Martinez.
And he doesn't play he hasn't played.
JD Martinez is technically not active, is the thing.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
He's not retired.
He might be on this list. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just thinking of really old guys, so I'm going to say Carlos Santana.
No.
But he's played in the NL.
You need this person played in the National League West for many years, but he has not played. His last season in the NL West was 2018.
Seager? No. He signed later than that.
Wait. No, yeah, you're right. Later.
Oh.
Just give it. It's too late in the show. Give it.
Okay, here's a huge hint.
Okay.
He's on the team that we're playing right now.
DJ LeMahieu.
There you go.
Great one.
DJ LeMahieu. This is the one where I was like, he's not going to be front of mind for anyone. He's 4th on the list with 129
That's super
hits.
sick. That's super sick.
Yeah,
wow.
That's a good one. But that's how good he was for so long that he's still number 4 on the list. All those games in Coors Field against the Padres.
Isn't he on a giant contract right now, too?
So Arenado, Goldschmidt. Wait, we got the top 3 right off the top. I'm just
6
Arenado, Goldschmidt, Justin Turner, DJ LeMahieu, Freddie Freeman.
Turner, LeMahieu, Freeman. Great list.
Good list.
Good.
Fuck those guys.
Fun. Yeah, I hate them all. They all suck equally, but some of them even more. All right, that's it for this show. Patrons are going to get post-game shows coming up. Padres, Yankees, group therapy on the off day. Rockies coming up this week. Okay, let's end with this. They're 4-0. They're 4-0.
Yeah, we talked about what?
What do they wind up this road trip?
We talked about 6-3, but they have banked at least one win.
I'm going to say 7-2.
Yeah,
I'm going to say 7-2.
Fuck it, I'm going to say 9-0. I'm going to say crazy.
You might be right, dude. The way they're playing right now.
The way they're going?
Let's go for it. Why not?
Sky's the limit. Merrill's coming
what's your number,
back.
Craig? What's your
Merrill's
number?
back tomorrow, man.
8-1.
Oh, all right. Guess I'm the Debbie Downer with a 7-2 road trip.
7-2 is fine. 7-2 is fine. That's another 2-2 or whatever, 3-2. But team's going. Merrill's coming back. Cronenworth's coming back. Padres are a good team. Let's fucking go San Diego. Go Padres.